Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to I Hate Rock Music, and I want to thank everyone out there that is subscribed and all the people that are watching the videos. I know some people are going to like my channel, some are not. I think a lot of collectors and people that are already familiar with these records will appreciate hearing somebody, another record collector, talking about these records. I'm sure a lot of these records are in collections of many of the people out there, but ultimately, I'm kind of covering a lot of the underground from the late 60s to the early 70s and beyond because I want to turn people onto records. And some of these records people have heard and some of them they haven't. So, anyway, that's my basic point here. I love talking about these records. I love these records. And I've noticed that I've turned a few people onto some records, and I love that. That's what it's all about. So, this video is about the band Steel, and it's got a very striking cover with a big screw on the front with a silver cover, and the band's name is Steel, and it's pretty intriguing. It's another one that I picked out in cutouts, probably 72, 73. Had no idea what it was, and I got it home and I was pleasantly surprised. It's pretty heavy. There's some soulfulness to it and some funkiness to it in some places, and I'm sure that's due to the fact that three of the members were black, and that makes Steel a pretty unusual band for the time. The guitar player Stephen Busfield, the drummer Jerry Norris, and the vocalist Carl Sims were all black. And then two names that a lot of people out there know now: Dwayne Hitchings on keyboards and vocals, and Roland Robinson on bass. So Roland Robinson would end up jamming with Hendrix, and Dwayne Hitchings actually played some with Hendrix as well. But Dwayne Hitchings, of course, went on to um, the second version of Cactus, the Hot and Sweaty period, and then was involved in the Misguided Son of Cactus record. And Dwayne Hitchings was in on that, along with Mike Panera, who seemed to join a lot of bands that were disintegrating, and he never really had the success that he should have. But Dwayne Hitchings also spent some time in the Buddy Miles Express early on, and then Stephen Busfield eventually joined the Buddy Miles Express in 1973. So these guys had some good connections, and they hung out with some real names. The album was put out on Epic in 1971 and produced by Eddie Kramer, so it sounds really good. And unfortunately, I don't have much information on the band. I know that Dwayne Hitchings was from Syracuse, New York, but I've heard the band itself came out of Texas. So if anybody else knows anything about them, I'd love to see something in the comments about more about this band. There really is hardly any information out there about them, but I think it's pretty solid. I think one of the things that's striking about it, I think because of the way Jerry Norris plays the drums and the guitar work by Stephen Busfield, a lot of times there's a real mountain flavor to it, and that's quite a feat. But I've listened to the record so many times, and I just hear these moments where the guitar and drums really strike me as sounding like mountain. But it's a pretty cool hard rocking record, kind of heavy in a lot of parts. The keyboards give it a different feel. It would have been pretty successful even without the keyboards as a guitar, bass, drums, vocals band. But as it is, it's a solid record. In some ways, I tend to think they might be from New York because New York bands, they seem to have a predilection to having keyboards in the band, and that's one thing that would make me think they are from New York. But they could just as easily have been from Texas as well. Carl Sims went on to do a solo career as an R&B artist, so there's a lot of wacky records out there by Carl Sims taking a whole new direction. But I recommend the record. I think it's pretty solid. I think most of the tunes are pretty good. Obviously, the playing's really good. The rhythm section's killer. Stephen Busfield's an excellent guitar player, and Carl Sims does a great job delivering these rock vocals. So very convincing. You could close your eyes and really not realize there's any black members in the band. Although Carl Sims, a lot of times with his vocals, he's got a soulfulness. Um, that belies the fact that he is in fact black. And so, cool band, Steel. I wish I had more information on him, but as always, the link will be below. If you haven't heard the record, check it out. If you like a lot of these heavy rock bands with excellent keyboards, then this is going to be a record you'll enjoy. And they're definitely not a top tier band in a way. I would put them a second tier band, but they're solid all the way around. If they stayed together, I'm sure they would have produced some more interesting music and interesting progression. Since this was 71, I think if they stuck around till 72 or 73, we could have gotten a bit bigger picture of what the band was all about. But that said, even though I don't have much to say about the band, even after all my research, they're well worth talking about in a record well worth having in your collection. So check them out. Steel. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.